What if the framing question is just like, how are architects accountable?
A lot. So we kind of started by populating this theory bit with
dominant accepted references at the time being more autonomous or like being more engaged with certain issues. So
is that we're kind of prioritizing certain voices.
Considering architecture and care together, the field needs to take major shifts.
Maybe we could, like these horizontal curves, we could intersect them in a Venn diagram.
We were thinking about a kind of cyclical nature of things initially.
something new is about to happen. Let's reimagine what that is.
To show the diversity of thought within this kind of block of the class of 2020.
I feel like what we're saying is that the consequence of architecture is much more significant than the object of it.
And what I'm still missing is what we're trying to say by referencing all of these projects and sorting them.
The fact that agency, autonomy, and accountability are changing over time vis-a-vis the profession is already an argument in itself. The y-axis is from indifference to high or extreme level of care.
I guess I'm just wondering what the broader question is. Are we saying like,
I'm having a hard time with the 3 words. I love words in sets of 3. There's so many forms of agency that slip from professional practice to academia to being a citizen. And accountability, I guess, is a question of to whom, because everybody's accountable to somebody.
it's kind of like you have the ability to do something, but like maybe you have the agency to not care.
No, because I think the indifferent people would be way over here.
Are we caring more now about the architect themselves, or had we overlooked, the values that the person designing, the architect themselves, was perpetuating?
Are we talking about the production of architecture, or are we talking about the production of architects and the culture around it? Or are we talking about both?
Is it about the shape of the building or the architects shaping the building?
What does that?
What does that mean for accountability at that time?
What did this make?
What are we trying to say?
Architects talking about architecture versus non-architects talking about architecture.
Discourse and ideas of agency go through cycles, and we're on the upswing of a new period of that.
It's also kind of optimistic because it has all these factors that we saw historically help move the profession forward.
A bunch of radical practices are going to start coming out.
In a very real way, I think we kind of just need to justify our employment.
It's not necessarily challenging anything. We inherently have our own biases, and if we were to just juxtapose that itself could create an argument.
Is that I am going to be accountable for something. There is accountability at the end of the day, and right now we need to choose.
That moment in the curve is kind of an interesting one if looked through the lens of an individual. Which way do you go?
In this diagram, it is drawn a way to just exemplify, that sort of two polar relationship. But it doesn't mean that in history it's necessary that polar all the time, right?
Would you mind sending us the recording of
Yes.
the Zoom call?
Sure,
Sure.
not a problem.